Hey, what's going on? Talk to
What's
me.
up? What's up with you, stranger?
Hey, man. Hey, the 4th of July just ain't sitting right with me on a Tuesday. It just ain't sitting right with me. Then throw
What
my
did
whole day off.
did you work today?
I work today.
It was now I was off Monday. No, I wasn't off at all. I worked Monday and Tuesday, but it
Mm.
still felt weird. Like today, I don't know what today feel like. It don't feel like uh I don't know what it feel like.
I don't either. But anyway, it's open. I'm glad. I'm glad it's over.
Hey, Deanna.
Hey,
Deanna,
Deanna, what's going on?
look, this was Deanna's yesterday. She had a 4th of July anniversary. Happy anniversary, Deanna.
Oh, happy anniversary to you.
You know,
Awesome.
you and Tony do that married thing. I bowed out. I know,
Footloose
but
and fancy free. I hear you.
okay. But yeah, today it's been weird. I don't know what it felt like. And you know what threw me off too? When Naya's not in school, I can tell what the day is based on how many days she been in school. So since
Right.
she at home every day, hell, I don't know what day it is.
I hear you.
But what made you want to come out and play on this lovely Wednesday evening? You look like somebody that's inspired, like you got something on your mind, something you want to talk
Man,
about.
you know what? I don't know what it is, but when you hanging around family and friends and you seeing people making these moves, and sometimes you be wanting to share some information that can help them, but you don't know if they're gonna receive it real well, so you just don't say nothing. You ever felt like that, Melissa?
Yeah, I feel like that a lot.
Yeah, like I can't share this because you may not even be in a season to receive it. And sometimes I say I'm just gonna shoot a shot anyway. I'm just gonna tell them anyway whether it hurt their feelings or not. So this is why we on today. I just want to talk a little bit about it.
Oh,
I'm glad you're on.
you got all that pent up information from
It's
from
pent up. It's
when you was around your folks and you didn't get to share.
Yeah, it's sizzling. It's sizzling in my spirit. I got to share it with somebody, and I appreciate you, Melissa, for listening. I really do.
Okay. Now you sent me the thumbnail that says ignorance is bliss. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Talk to me about that. Where did that come from?
I'm gonna tell you right now. If you call somebody ignorant, they're gonna probably be ready to fight you. They're gonna be ready. They're gonna be in their feelings. They're like, "Who you think you is? Calling me ignorant?"
I
It's
don't
ready.
even think that. Now you know the difference between ignorant and ignorant.
Yeah, it's a difference, ain't it? You call somebody ignorant, it's time to fight.
It's on. You ain't saying nothing but a word. Someone I'm ignorant.
Right. But you know what? When it comes to ignorance, when it comes to finances, we
Mm-hmm.
all are ignorant to a certain extent because for one, I think it changes. A lot of the information changes, and if you didn't get it in school and was applying it, you sure enough gonna be lost right now. I can tell you that now.
Well, you know what? 9 times out of 10, through no fault of our own, we ain't getting in school.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't talk about that too. You know, I had a great discussion earlier with one of the newer business partners, and we were just kind of, you know, how when you start talking about money and life, and like the conversation just kind of takes a course of its own, and we done went all around the world about money stuff. And you know, it's one of the things I was saying to her during the conversation was, you know, it's by design. They ain't teaching us how to do that at school, how to be an entrepreneur, how to manage your money. Because as long as you are on the ignorant side of it, the people who have the information is winning. And then when you say blissfully ignorant, you know, when we were talking about it before, I say it's like on Tales from the Hood. At the end, when Ice Cube be like, either they don't know or they don't want to know what's going on
Right.
in the future. Same thing about your bank account, your credit score, your finances. Either you don't know or you don't want to know.
Right. Hey, look. How about let me share this with you, Melissa? I Google it because I want to make sure that I capture what Google is saying about ignorance is bliss. What does it really mean?
Come
And
on,
yeah, I wrote it down. and it said the phrase has positive and negative con. How you say it? Connotation.
Connotation.
Yeah, connotation depending on who looks at it. He said, in some ways, ignorance is and certain things are beyond our control. That means you're ignorant and you just don't know. I ain't got a clue about it. Like you don't have no information about it. And then it says, on the other hand, it said, ignoring actual problems that directly affect you can lead to snowballing consequences. So that means what you don't know can keep hurting you over and over and over again. And look, when you in pain and you hurting, you don't know which way to go. You're gonna be confused and you're gonna be lost. And to me, I think that's what's going on with a lot of people's finances. It's like the snowball effect. Okay, if your credit bad, that means you went out and bought a car that was overpriced, right? That means your
Right.
car note was higher. You want to buy a house, but you can't because you're stuck in an apartment because you really can't afford a house, even though a house would probably be a better situation to get a lower note. But by you being in a bad situation and don't know how to get out of it, things just get worse and worse over time. So that's where ignorance is bliss come in at. It's like you don't know or you don't want to know. So which one is it do you think most people are really struggling with? Either they know or they don't want to know.
I think it's a 50-50. The example we were talking about earlier, it's a lot of people during the, not to put it on a health topic, but, I work in healthcare, and a lot of people, when HIV and all that stuff came out, people knew they had been shooting up drugs or having risky behavior. And it's one thing when, you don't know what it is. You don't know what it is, you ain't gonna be worried about it. But
Right.
if you pass by the HIV clinic every day on your way home from work, and you see somebody coming up that know coming up
Right.
that thing, at that point it's really ignorance, because it's like it's a possibility, but you
Hmm.
like, I don't even want to know. I don't want to know. But my
Yeah.
thing is, I know it's that bliss, because bliss is a good thing. Bliss means you just got a good feeling about stuff. To me, that type of ignorance is not blissful.
Right.
Because even though I say I don't want to know and I ain't worried about it, it's in the back of my mind all the time. Like,
Right.
damn, I see so and so coming out that clinic. I sure hope I ain't got that mess.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, how can it really be bliss?
Yeah, you know what? Think about this. So let's talk about health and wealth now. It's certain things that we know we don't supposed to be eating, but it's so damn good. It's so good. It tastes good. It seasons good. It's had a bunch of barbecue, pork ribs, all of that. Folks already hurting. They got heartburn. They can't lay down at night throwing up, sick. Now they wasn't thinking about that when they were eating, huh?
You still wrong with tone quick.
Now you wouldn't think about none of that when you were eating it. Your pressure up all high, and you trying to figure out why you got a headache and why your stomach hurt. You knew that stuff wasn't good for you, but you did it anyway. You did it anyway. Now look at you. Look
And
at you.
you know what? You stepped on my toes for real. I'm real guilty, because you know how you run into them people that are really strict about, and not to tap over. I try to stay away from religious and politic conversations, but there are some people that are a firm believer that we're not supposed to eat pork. And
Yeah.
they'll be wanting to pull out the Bible scripture and show it to me. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't want to.
Yeah.
I like my ham and real.
I
I don't
don't
want
want to
to.
know. I
So
don't
I'm
want
like,
to know.
to me, yeah, I'm blissfully ignorant, because
Yeah.
you can show me where I ain't supposed to have that stuff, but my tongue and my stomach say, we don't want to.
Hey, check this out. I'm glad you said that. So think about this. We like in the financial industry, and we learn a few things about money. Like you won credit, you got an 800 plus. I'm trailing. I got 730, 740. But like when we keep talking about credit and finances, people tend to shy away from wanting to talk to us. I want anybody to feel comfortable to talk to me. But you're right, Melissa. A lot of people don't want to know, especially if they feel like you've been exposed to some information. They'll feel like you're a plague. I don't want to hear about that finance thing. I don't want to hear about my credit. I know it's already shot. What are you gonna do about it? You
Right,
know,
because that's like, and I have been ignorant about that too, because I always think back in around, it had to be like 2005 or 2006. I was working at a healthcare facility out in somewhere in North Carolina. But anyway, me and this girl were talking, and she was telling me, we were talking about tax, and she said, "Well, I go ahead and get my money during the year because you know I want to bring it home now." And ignorant number one over here, I didn't flip my head around and told her, "Well, I like getting a refund. I even though my ass really ain't getting no refund, but I'm like, I ain't gonna mess with my number because I don't want to mess myself up. Just as ignorant as all I know."
yeah,
And when she said that, I'm looking at her like, what's wrong with her? And I guess she said, bless her heart. I
she
ain't,
don't
you
know.
know, I ain't
When
sure.
you don't know, you don't know. Cause hey, I used to think a refund check was a good thing, and I'm sure it's a lot of people out there that may watch this feed or later on down the road and say, "I thought a refund was a good thing." But there's a reason why you got a refund. That means you overpaid. So my thing is, if you're struggling all month long, all week long, every paycheck, and you got access to get some extra money, why wouldn't you do it? Why wouldn't you not get your extra money?
And you know what, Tony? It never dawned on me. I was 40 years old before I knew how refunds were decided and how much you gonna get, and I didn't know what it was. But when you were saying that just then about people being happy for a refund, you know what went through my mind? If I go out and buy something at the store, now I guess I was happy when I bought it, but maybe I decide when I get back home, I already got two or three of these. I'm gonna take this one back. Then I go back to the store and they give me a refund. You didn't never gave me my money back. You didn't give me an extra. Well, ma'am, since you brought it back, we're gonna give you an extra $15 on top of the $15 you paid for it. It's
Right.
just give my money back. It ain't nothing for me to dance, sing, get excited about. I just
Hmm.
got my money back. Working a job and getting a tax refund is the same thing.
That's right.
They telling you, you know what? We took money from you all year. Really, you gave us too much, so I'm gonna give you this back. So if I mean, is it just me?
See, that's where the ignorance come in. Is like if you didn't know, if you don't know, you just don't know. And
I
and
do
and I
not.
think this is what I like about the business we in is like giving people those aha moments. Like I didn't know that. I mean, don't take the word from me. Even the IRS said it in little bitty writing. They say getting your money back all year may be a better option for you to pay down debt. Right? If the IRS said that and you're giving your money to the IRS, who should you be listening to?
Exactly. Exactly. That's like somebody telling you, like your boss at work telling you, like, look, you can come in and work this overtime, but I'm gonna go and tell you, we ain't gonna pay you for it. If you still want to work it, come on in.
Yeah.
And you hop and skip your happy ass on to work.
They're like, no, we like having you here, but we ain't paying you. You can come, but we're not gonna pay you.
Yes, sir. I'll be there. I'll be there at 7 o'clock, sir. I'll be ready to clock in and go. Now remember, we ain't gonna pay you. Oh, I don't mind, sir.
Hey, Melissa, you making too much sense now. I know you being funny, man, but I'm hoping people can really understand that if you go to work, you expect to get paid. If you're going to go to work, you expect to get all of your money. You don't leave no money on the table, but it's because of the information that has not been passed down, the improper W-4 adjustments, which we didn't know. I'm so glad and we so blessed to be in this business because I didn't know it. Been 24 years at my job. I never knew. And people don't know. At anybody's job, you can be the GOAT to share this information. Think about all the employees at my job. Let's say 2,500 people that actually listen to me, right? And
Mm.
say, hey, Tony, I saw what you said. I want to be able to learn what you learned. Guess what? I'm a multimillionaire with 2,500 people that don't know what I know. You see what I'm saying? but people like to shoot the messenger, right? I don't know because I'm working next to him every day, or the color of my skin, or how long my beard is. What do he know? You know what I'm saying? So we play with that as well. But ignorance is bliss, right?
That's true. That is very true. Cause and that's why hey the hood table. Y'all check the hood table out.
Hey,
She
good
coming
tape.
through. I saw you in the car earlier today. I hope everything went okay with the services and stuff. She had a friend that they were having a funeral today.
I'm
Um,
sorry to hear.
but yeah, that's why I have everybody know my number one rule when it comes to especially with stuff like this. I don't like to tell stories where I come out looking bad. My one exception to that is if somebody can learn from it.
Right.
So that's why I be so open about sharing with people because I know I was right there. And I'm just 49. It's only been 9 years. I didn't start getting no financial knowledge until I was 40. Everything I
Hmm.
knew before 40 was you could have took it with a wing and it wasn't anything I had seen or read. It was just what I built on by myself. But
Hmm.
I I don't mind, even though it looks very bad. And that's why I didn't talk a lot of times about finances and investing and all that stuff because I knew that I didn't know what I was talking about. And I know
Hmm.
as soon as I opened my mouth, somebody else was gonna know that I didn't know what I was talking about. So I would kind of like, keep it to myself because I remember people used to ask me all the time, do you do the long form or do you do a schedule C? And I'd be like, in here, up here, I don't know what no schedule C is. I don't know long form. And I'd be
Right.
like, I don't know. I have to go back and look. I always got an answer that
You
I
let me
think,
go back and look.
I always got a response that I think gonna make me dodge from looking
That's
dumb.
the question. Yeah. Hey, let me ask you something. Let me ask you this. So we're in a financial service membership, and we have a lot of information that has been taught to us, and we're applying it. So I like to tell everybody that we're not financial advisors, we're not tax preparers, but we have learned from multimillionaire. We learn from wealth strategies. So let me ask you something. Do you think if you had a finance or you was a professor at some big prestigious college, would people be more acceptable to listen to what you have to say about money?
It's possible. I mean, I think there are some people that just not gonna accept it from me for like you said, for whatever reasons you named earlier, they just not gonna accept it from me. But I think there is a group of people who would say, she went to school for that. She went to Yale or Harvard or wherever they go to learn this type of stuff. And she worked for T. Rowe Price. So they probably, I think it's a group that would, but I think there's still a subset of people that be like, she don't know what she's talking about. You know,
Right.
when I go through and look at the responses to my videos that I share, I have people down there that say in the comments, she looked like she don't know what she's talking about. I'm like, well, what do I need to do? Put on a pair of glasses? Do I need to get some dollar sign earrings?
Right. Oh, you
Some
gotta have a you
roaches?
gotta have a Bentley. A Bentley. You gotta be leaning on a Bentley or one of them fancy cars to look
Right.
like success. Yeah.
Because one thing that I like about this business that we've learned is it don't, if our people come from all kind of different financial backgrounds, geographic, demographic, whatever. Not everybody who gets on here sound like they was born and raised in Cortland, Alabama, like I do. But you might have somebody that speaks perfect English and don't know what the hell they come about, but
Hmm.
because they can say dollar instead of dollar, you don't know first. And
Yeah.
I used to get offended by because a couple of times I didn't screenshot and sent to you be like, what you think I ought to say back to this? You just be like,
Nothing.
let it go.
Let it
Let
go.
it go. Because people will judge you just
Yeah.
because you don't look like their definition of
Of
somebody
success.
who knows something about money.
Right.
And
You know what I
don't
tell
hit
you what I like. I really like being in the position I am. I'm the underdog. I'm somebody that goes to work every day. I'm somebody that's listening and being mentored by people that are already wealthy and they're sharing their information. So I want to be the person to show you that, hey, you don't have to have a great credit. You don't have to have a bachelor's degree. You don't have to have a master's degree. All you got to do is just have the willingness to learn and listen. That's the problem. People are not listening and understanding that you can fix your own credit if you got the block of instructions. People don't realize that you can invest if you understand terminology and perspective. Like I say, I've been to college a few hours, but I never graduated. But I'm telling you, my common sense is on lit now. I'm telling you, if I can cheat like hell, if you win and I'm winning, you feel me on that?
But you know what? That just goes back to the argument that it don't matter. You said you had a few hours. I went to college and finished, and I still learned a great deal of what I learned about finance from you.
Yeah.
So it really it doesn't matter what your background is unless you're a scammer. Now, if
Right.
come to find out you don't know nothing about nothing, that's a whole nother story. But that's why the difference is with our organization, we don't have you just go by what we say. We
Yeah.
always show you proof or
Yes.
written documentation to back up what we're talking about.
Right. Mr. Stokes always said this too. Melissa, and I got 4 minutes and I apologize. We don't want to hold everybody long, but man, Mr. Stokes said this, the founder of My Econ he said, building wealth is subject specific. He said, you can't talk to a lawyer or a doctor about building some wealth because they're working a job. They were programmed, they were taught to go to a hospital to treat people.
Right.
It ain't got nothing to do with money. They said they struggle with money just like everybody else. Do you not know that 6, 7 figure earners still struggle with the tax system because they don't have write-offs? They don't understand. They don't know how to manage their money because the school system did not teach them about money. It's specific,
Yep.
right?
The school system didn't teach them, and depending on where you grew up, my family could only teach me what they knew, and they didn't know as much as we know now, which
Right,
is why we're trying to make sure that the next generation, Tyler and Naya, know what we didn't know.
right. And you know, Melissa, for a long time, I couldn't figure out how in the world did they make it with gas prices at 30 cent, 40 cent. I never knew and thought about inflation, how inflation is changing the game. It's like you can make $100,000, but you still broke because
You,
everything around you is going up and your pay is the same. So
you said nothing
it
but right.
changed.
Because, when I think about six figures, ain't even six figures no more with
Right.
the economy.
Yeah.
Because back in 1974, when I was born, six figures probably you was balling.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
49 years later, because of how much everything costs, your
Yeah.
six figures is not buying the same thing it would have bought
Right.
in 1974.
Yeah.
So
Oh
it's like
man, look.
it ain't really nothing to brag about no more.
Right. But look, Melissa, this has been good. I don't want this thing to cut you off, but you can talk as long as you want. But man, I think this was a great conversation because everybody needs to have this, right? Everybody needs to be having these grown folk conversations about, do I really need to fix my credit and why do I not have my credit fixed? Because Melissa and Tony got a system that walks you through it, right? Ignorance is not bliss. Just jump in and let's learn and build together, right?
True. That's true. Well, I hate you gotta go. I will stay on for a few more minutes just to see if anybody got any questions, and then I'll wrap
Okay.
it up. But thank you for jumping on with me and letting me sound off. It's always nice to be on the soapbox when you ain't got to be up there by yourself.
Yeah. This is great, man. Thank you for having me on. I guess we're still on for next week. We just wanted to pop on and share some information about what we were talking about today, man. But Melissa, thanks for having me, though.
Okay. Have a good
Okay.
night.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Okay, y'all. So I'm like I said, I'm gonna stay a little longer. Um, if anybody has any questions about anything we were talking about, I'm used to talking to myself. I've done that a lot because a lot of times when I go live, ain't nobody on here but me. So if anybody has any specific questions, I think, you know, like Tony was saying, the biggest thing is, number one, when people are coming at you giving you financial advice, are they trustworthy? And number two, if they once they give me the advice, am I gonna put it to work? Because, you know, it's one thing to say you have a business, you can go through all the motions, you can sign up, you can pay for the website and all that stuff. But it's like, that's why we tell people, as far as this business goes. Now, if I had a business where I was selling a product, like let's say I'm selling Mary Kay or used tires, whatever I'm selling, and you buy stuff from me to support me, that's different because you're getting a product from whatever, you know, it's an even exchange. You giving me the money, you getting the product, you know you're gonna wear the makeup, you know you're gonna put the tires on your car. When it comes to the type of business we're doing, because our product is financial education, a lot of times when people say they want to get involved just to support you, it's really, they're really wasting money. Because with this business, if you're not going to take the business, put the financial advice into play, start looking more closely at your finances, all the things that you need to do to improve your credit. If you are not going to actively get involved and do that, you pretty much just throwing money away. And that's why I say, you know, I tell people, like when I first started doing this, I did have some family and friends that signed up just to support. But I'm like, you know, if you're not looking for the financial improvement of it, I would feel better if you just let the membership go, because you're throwing money away if you're not putting it to effect. And the fact of the matter is, our system comes with so much information. The value we put on it to maintain the business is $39.95 a month. But the value that you can get out of having it is, I can't even put a price on it. Because let's say you get started today. You go through, you know, the business comes with how to fix your credit. So you get started today, you jump in, you review the information, you figure out what you're doing wrong as far as the credit and everything. You send your letters off to get things wiped off that were on there. You also end up bringing your credit score up by, like, let's say 20 points. Okay, you may not see a money in your hand difference on what you've gotten from improving your credit, but think about how many more doors you're gonna have open to you now. It's one thing, because honey, I've been on this side of it, when you go up to the store and you're at the cash register and they're like, you know, you can get 25% off if you apply for a credit today and you're approved. I'd be like, I don't even want to do it. I already knew. Number one, y'all was gonna turn me down, so I'm not gonna get embarrassed by letting y'all do it. But there's a difference between standing there at that register and they offer you that, and you saying no because, no, I don't want to add any new credit to my credit, because I know what'll happen if I add a new credit to it. Like, I know what's going on with my credit now. So the decision is more of an informed decision, where before I was just basing it on, I know my credit bad. So, like, it's a whole different posture when you know how your credit works. And, you know, some of the discussion I was having earlier with the young lady that I was talking to, you know, we are so conditioned to think that the only thing that affects our credit is whether or not we pay our bills on time, or if we let it go into collection. That is a very big part of it, but it is not the only part of it. So you can be paying your credit card bills on time every month and still be doing 4 other things that are contributing to why your score is not getting better, or why it's even getting lower. You know, one of the things we talk about that I didn't realize before was, you know, when I started in this business, I still had about 3 years left to pay on my truck before having to pay for it. So, you know, one of the strategies that I looked at to being able to pay it off early was, you know, I would make my regular payment, and then when I got paid the second time, I would make another payment for a specified amount because I think my car note was like 321 or something like that. So I paid the 321, which is the amount I agreed to through the financing. But when I got paid the second time that month, I would take another $200. And at first I asked, because you have to ask, some places will not let you do it. But ask if you can just make a payment towards the principal only. Because that amount that they added on for interest is based on how long that loan is for. So if you pay it off in 4 years instead of 5 years, that knocks the interest off. So like when I finish, they actually, because I always get the gap insurance, which covers you like if something happens to your car before you have to pay for it, where it's like standing in the gap. It's gonna fill in for what you owe. So because when they make that estimation of how much your gap insurance is gonna be based on how long it takes you to pay off the vehicle. So if you're scheduled to finance this vehicle for 5 years and you pay it off in 4, they owe you money back because the interest that they were going to be charging for that additional year, you've already paid. They owe that back to you. So I didn't understand all of that at first. I didn't know what all went into it. But I say that to say that strategy helped me as far as paying my car off a whole year early. But I was thinking, okay, I'm getting 2 for 1. I'm paying my car off early, but I'm also my credit score finna go up. Well, when I checked my credit a couple of months after I paid the car off, my credit score went down by like 3 points. And I'm confused. I'm like, I done paid my car off early and my credit score still went down. Well, that's because I didn't realize something else that they look at when it comes to your credit is the type of credit you have. You know, in our do-it-yourself credit kit, it tells you about the 5 things that affects your credit score. Well, even though I paid my note on time, I actually even paid it off early. What I didn't think about is that was the only installment debt that I had. Installment debt is debt that's like your house note or your car note. It's a debt that's going to be, you got to go, you keep paying on it until you pay it off. And it's called installments because it's already planned out that you have this term, or this amount of time to pay it off. And you're making installations every month that you make a payment, you're making an installment on your debt. The other debt that you can have is revolving debt. Revolving debt is like a credit card. Or let's say you have a MasterCard. You got a card for somewhere like for my daughter. I don't shop in there, but she has a what's the store called? Y'all know it. She has it's a clothing store. I can't think of the name of it. But anyway, so all of those are revolving debt, meaning it's not an installment. I can go buy her when I get ready to go school shopping, $200 or $300 worth of clothes. I can either make a payment every month and pay off that, or I can just make one payment of $300 and I'm done with it. So my balance is back down to 0. So that's not installment, that's revolving. Revolving, when you think about that, it goes around and around. So that every time you use it, it goes up. And then when you pay off on it or pay it down, it goes down. So it's revolving. So when creditors are looking at your credit, they're looking for you to have both installment and revolving. And you wonder, why is that such a big deal? And part of this is my reasoning I put on it. But think about it. If because a lot of people also wonder why, when they don't have any credit, why that's a bad thing. Well, you gotta think about it like this. Your credit, and this is how I teach my daughter ever since she was younger. I teach her to look at your credit report. It's like your financial report card. Each card or account you got on there is like a grade. So, when you're doing GPAs, you might be taking math, history, English, Spanish, social studies. social studies and history, the same thing. Some reading. Okay, you got all 5 of those classes that you're taking. Okay, you're a genius in math. So you got 100 in math. English, not your strong suit. You got a 70. Let's just say for Spanish class, you got an 85. So each one of those classes is like each one of the factors that the creditors use to determine your credit score. So I say that to say, if just like with the math, you're a genius in math. Your score is an 8. You got 100. So but your GPA, based on all of the courses you take, is like an 89. Well, you can't get mad because you don't have an A, because even though you got 100 in math, you lagging on some of your other courses and it brings your score down. That's the same thing with credit. So creditors look at, and I want to pull it up and give y'all the word for word, but my computer's so janky. I'm scared that if I open this up, it might kick me out of StreamYard. I'm gonna try it because I would rather tell you verbatim. And see, I'm giving out. This is what my econ is about. My econ is financial education. Now, this stuff I'm telling y'all now, that I'm telling you for free. I paid $179 to get started. Right now, you can start for $19.95. I paid to get this information, to learn this information, to be able to teach and share this information. So every now and then, we'll throw you a bone and let you know we know what we're talking about. We're not just making it up. But this is the type of information you get with the membership. And like I said, what I love about the membership is being able to teach. Because I'm not a salesman. That's one thing. I don't like selling stuff. But I don't think of this as like selling stuff, because it's more like providing education. I'm okay with this. I'm not a peddler. I'm not a door-to-door vacuum cleaner salesman. But if I can do something and teach you something, or as the old folks say, learn you something, I'm all for that. So looks like it might let me actually get in there. Because I would like to be able to give you the actual 5 things that affect your credit score. So y'all know I ain't just talking out my behind. I almost said the other words, and I'm gonna keep it PG. Okay. Well, it looks like it's trying to work with me. Let me not speak too soon. Because just as soon as I say that, I get a message that I've been kicked out. So come on through, computer. You're fine. And that's one of the biggest advantages of this business. When you start this business, we sell this as a separate product, the credit repair. But when you buy the membership to the business, meaning that you're now in business with us, you get this information for free. And it is our biggest seller, because what I was trying to get you to see is having the good credit is going to open the door to so many other things, that the money itself, being able to go out and get a car and have it financed at 4.3% versus 9%, you may not, that might just sound like I'm reeling off numbers. But if we do the calculation and we see what the total cost of that car is, financed at 9% versus 4%, that's when you realize how important credit is. Because me and you driving the same car, we could have bought it at the same car dealership. My credit score 100 points better than yours. Where you paying $479 a month for yours, financed at 5 years, I might be paying $300 a month, financed at 4 years, just based off of my credit. And so that's why credit is so important, because it's big picture things like that people don't really look at, or don't realize that the big picture is where you see in the savings is. You may not see an immediate influx of money in your pocket, but when you look back and think about how much you would have paid for those same items over the last few years with bad credit versus good credit, that's when it started making sense. So let me go to it. I just want to be able to give y'all the 5 things that affect your credit. And my chair is sinking. See, this is what I hate. How about this daggone chair? And while I'm sitting here, it's like slowly sinking down. And that irks me. Okay. My credit system. Pull it up. And once I sit to talk about this, I'm gonna get off because it ain't as much fun when Tony ain't on here. And I'm just talking. It feel like I'm talking to myself. Okay, so let's see. Uh, let's see. Y'all give me a second. And my computer's so that's what me and Tony were talking about before I got on here. They're like, you just gonna have to go on and break down and get a new computer. I bought this computer as a business assistant because this is my personal computer. It's not the one I use for work. So I was able to write it off because I needed a computer to do my business. But I got it in 2016. It's 2023. Y'all know how technology is. They make that stuff. I will get on the soapbox and start talking conspiracy because I feel like they make these things so that they're only useful for so long because they know there are people like me who will sit here and hold on to this computer until Jesus come back, as long as it works. But I think they realize that there's a group of people out here like me that's not gonna buy it just because they got a new version of it coming out. You gonna buy it when you need it. So I think that's why they make this stuff not last so long. But that's just me rambling. That does not represent the views of my econ. Okay, let me see. Let's go to the my credit. Okay, here we go. Y'all bear with me. Because I do have this slow computer. But yeah, when I first got started, I had already been kind of working on my credit for not with all of the information, but just based on stuff I was putting together from advice I was given. So I was already working on improving my credit. So by the time we got to my econ, I was already in, I'm gonna say like if I went, I was probably like early 700s. I don't know for sure, but I had started working towards getting it up. So once I got started and I found what everything that I really needed to know, that's when I was able to really bring it up and get it where I needed to be. Now, and when it was at its peak, it was at 837. 850 is as high as you can go. And that was a few years ago. Since then, I don't have an installment debt anymore. Because right now I don't have anything that I'm working towards to pay off. So all I have is revolving. So that affected my credit. My score actually went down because I don't have any revolving debt. And that's something that you wouldn't think about if you don't know. And you'd be like what most of us think. As long as I pay it off and I pay it on time and don't let it get more than 30 days behind, I'm good. But okay, actually, what affects your whole score are 5 things. The first thing is your payment history. So that is like how often, did you pay your stuff on time? And, your highest credit score, it can go up to 850. And I'm going to break down how they divide those points out and let you see how it's like a report card. So let's say payment history is one class you take. You pay everything on time. You were never late. So you got 100 in that class. Now, in the context of your credit score, that particular part makes up 35% of your score. So 35% of that 850 credit score, 192.5 possible maximum points, comes from whether or not you paid your stuff on time. That it didn't go into collections, this, that, and the other. Now, half of America thinks that's all there is to it. That is simply not true. There are 4 other things that you got to look at. So, and I'm going to turn this a little bit so I can get closer to the screen, since I'm really I'm not trying to let y'all see how dark these circles is close up, but it is what it is. Okay, so that's payment history. The next thing, that makes up 30% of that 850 possible points is credit utilization. So that's basically, and 30% of 850 is 165 points. So your first class you were taking was payment history. You got an A in it. The next class you're taking is credit utilization. We're going to put this like a report card. So for credit utilization, it's counting for 30% of your grade, your GPA. So that means 165 possible points for credit utilization. And the definition of credit utilization, let me just tell you what that is. Okay. Credit utilization is the ratio of your outstanding credit card balances to your credit limit. It measures the amount of credit limit you are using. For example, if you have a balance, if your balance is $300 and your limit is $1,000, then your credit utilization for that card is 30%. So credit utilization is looking at, okay, yeah, I've had this card, and they give me a limit. Let's say you got a $10,000 credit limit on this card. Utilization meaning how much you using of it. Let's say you rarely ever use it. Just to have something on it to let it stay active. Maybe you let a certain bill come out every month and you pay it off. So let's just say you using that particular card for your, like for example, my alarm system. My alarm system is $60 a month. So if I have a $10,000 card that I use to pay this alarm bill, and the highest balance I get on it is $60-some every month, and I pay that balance off every month, I'm improving, number one, the first class we talked about, which was credit history, because I'm paying it on time. And the second one that I'm doing good in is credit utilization, because think about it. If you've got a $10,000 credit limit and you got it charged up to $9,500, you only have $500 left. You didn't utilize 95% of the card. So from the standpoint of somebody that's looking to see whether to approve you for credit, they looking like she on a wing and a prayer. She got $10,000 credit limit, but she didn't spend it up to $9,500, and that balance ain't moved in like 6 months. So that's looking like you done gave me too much power and I couldn't handle it. You gave me this card, turned me loose with it, and instead of me charging, pay it off, charging, pay it off, I went home wild, charged it out the yin yang, and now I'm paying with this high interest rate, because there's another thing people don't always look at. All credit cards are not created equal. There's a reason why credit card companies compete for your business. if you are on the good credit end of things, a lot of times you'll see they'll advertise, well, with this card, what's the one they always have, what's in your pocket? I think Samuel Jackson and somebody else does the advertising for that. And then they'll have another one where they're saying you get so many points for this, or you get cash back on that. A lot of us don't even worry about that because we just trying to get approved for a card. But when you're up to a point where you're so financially stable that you can choose which card, you want to look at the interest rate. You want to look at the interest charged on cash purchases, and you want to look at what advantage you. Because like the card that I use, this is one of the strategies that I use that I learned. I keep a credit card that I use specifically for gas purchases and groceries. Why do I keep it? Because with this particular card, the point value for gas and groceries is like I'll get, I want to say 5 points, and what is a high point, versus if I just go swiping and buy something at a fast food place or buy something out of a Walmart, I'll get only so many points for that. The most points come from gas and groceries. So I take this particular card. This is the card I use for gas and groceries. So every month when I get the charge, unless, I'm not saying I don't use it for other things. Pretty much that's what I use it for. So I know how much I would spend, even if I was just doing cash and it was coming out of my debit account. I know that I would be swiping that card when I get gas and get groceries, but I wouldn't get anything for it. With me using my credit card, not only am I keeping that card active, the fact that I'm paying it off every month is keeping my credit utilization low, and it's helping with my credit history. But I'm also getting points. I'm getting reward points. And those points add up. I looked at my credit card statement the other day just to see where I was point-wise. And I think I had like 5,700 points. That may not sound like anything, but when it sounds like something, I have my point system linked to my Amazon account. So when I go to Amazon, I don't know if you guys are an Amazonian like I am, because I would use it for basic stuff. And a lot of times I'll use it for repeat stuff. Like, this may be TMI, but when I take a shower, I like to use baby oil. Not the regular baby oil, but I like the aloe. Well, a lot of times it's hard to find that in the store, but I can go on Amazon and order it, and they'll send it right onto the house. Well, if I've got, depending on how many points I have, it may be free because Amazon will translate that point value into a dollar amount. So when I go online, it may tell me you have $57 in city reward points. So if I buy something that costs under $50, it's free. How did I get that $57? From using my card to pay something that I was going to pay on anyway every month. But because I used my card and it got the points versus getting it out of my debit account, and it wasn't going to be no points or no rewards, it's a strategy. So when you start thinking about that, and I tried going back because I wanted to actually break that down on paper to let you guys see exactly what I mean by that. Because if I go back and look from the first of the year to now, how many things I bought on Amazon with points and compared to what I would have paid if I didn't have points, that really lets you see how much money was put back in my bag. Because the whole goal with all of this is to spend less money, to keep more of your own money, to get strategies where you're not paying for stuff and paying interest that is unnecessary. We do that all the time just because I don't want to say, sometimes because we're too lazy, sometimes like we were talking about earlier, it might be out of ignorance because we don't know it make a difference. And sometimes it's just you don't have time, but you make time for what you want to make time for. So if you saving money is worth more to you than you watching Netflix, you're going to get on there and see what you need to do to save that money. Because I can take that same money, those same reward points, I usually have enough that it can pay my Netflix bill every month. Because at any given time, I'm going to have more than $20 worth of points. So if Netflix is, I think it's $21 a month now, just for me using my credit card to pay for my gas and groceries, I'm making money to pay my Netflix bill. So I'm basically watching Netflix for free. So it's big picture. That's the thing. A lot of us are so used to thinking because we're right up on it. You're just looking at the day to day. But when you start looking at the big picture and looking at year to year, you're not thinking so much about how much you're making or spending every paycheck. You're looking at how much you made or spent for an entire year. And that's when you really start getting more into strategizing about your money. Okay, so when you talk about credit utilization, I told you what that is. That's 2 of the grades on your report card. So if you get 100% or all A's on payment history and credit utilization, you've already got of your 850 points, you've already gotten 192.5 and 165. There's still points out there to be made though. Those aren't the only 2 classes you take. You got 3 other classes that you need to make good on to get that credit score up. Okay, so the third one is credit history or length of history accounts. And I was talking about this earlier. Now, one thing I do need to find, because I don't know everything. I know a lot, but I don't know everything. And something that I was talking about with one of the newer associates today, we were trying to figure out, they say it's not good for you to close accounts. And a lot of times when you close them, it's not because you don't have the money. You paid them. They were on time. You just don't use that card anymore. So maybe you want to close the account. Well, apparently that's not a good look. But I think their base net credit history or link is a big deal. So even if you're not using that card, the fact that you've had it since 1995, you've paid on it on time. They've never sent you to collection. And they haven't, there's nothing negative on you. Looks good for your credit history link. But what we were talking about, and I need to find out about this, a lot of times, and I've noticed that cards that I don't use anymore, the account will, I guess, due to inactivity, they will close the account. Because prime example is JCPenney. Used to be, that was where I took Naya to get her hair done. So the only bill that I had was whenever she went to get her hair done. Well, when we stopped going to JCPenney, the card had, I didn't have a balance or anything, but I just didn't have no further need to go to JCPenney. So like maybe a year or 2 later, when I was in JCPenney, I wanted to buy something, they told me my account had closed. And I'm like, well, I didn't close it. So apparently they closed it. So I'm like, I need to find out, is it that way across the board? Are there only certain stores that will cancel your account? Because that's important to know. Because my thing is, if them closing it because I didn't use it was going to run my score down, I would have just bought somebody once a month for $50, paid it off, and kept the account open. As long as you buy something you really need, you can, we all, when it comes to underwear, at some point we all gonna have to buy some more socks, some more drawers, and if you're a woman, some more bras. So if JCPenney is where I buy my socks from, I just get a pack of socks every month. It don't matter how big the balance is, it can be $5. I pay that $5 off, that keeps that account open. My credit history is still looking good. The strategy. So I need to follow up on this. So yeah, credit history counts for 15% of your score. So it's not a big part of your score, but it's still, you can't have an A if 15% of your score comes from that and you got a 0. Because the higher your GPA can be is going, the most points you can have, you're going to only have 85. Because you got A's and everything except for that. So it's like some parts of the credit factors way heavier than others. Like I said, payment history makes up 35%. Credit utilization makes up 30%. Credit history and length, 15%. It's only 15%, but you still got to make sure you're doing good with it or it's going to affect the whole score. So, like, let's say you're doing good in school, but you don't like PE, so you don't never dress out. And at the end of the year, where everybody else got 100 at PE, you got an F because you didn't dress out. You might think, what I need this class for? If I don't want to dress out, I just didn't want to dress out. But when you get your GPA, it's going to say that you only have an 80 because you flunked gym. So you have to think about it in practical ways like that. That's how I do stuff to make it more user friendly for me to understand. So the formal definition about credit history. It says credit history accounts for 15% of your score. The quickest and easiest solution is to become an authorized user of someone who, no, that's not what I want. That's credit history. I'm trying to do the length. I'm sorry, we already know about the paying it on time and stuff. New credit. Well, I guess they are talking about that. I guess they did add it in with that. Okay, so it says you do not need. It's talking about like for example, I always tell people like, and I got. I used to keep it right. You know, yeah. Old Navy. I have an Old Navy card. So you see my name on this one. My daughter, she's only 13. She's had an Old Navy card as well because she's an authorized user. So she gets her own card. But you see what this card is? This card is with me because she's an authorized user. Meaning when they go back to look how long her credit is, because this hits young people a lot. You just finished high school, you're going out on your own, you want to get yourself some furniture or something, you're trying to buy a car, but you don't have no credit history. Because the only thing you've done is go to school, your parents were giving you money. You don't have bad credit, but you don't have any credit. So by me having her on, I think I have her on 2 different accounts. And so even though I think for one of them, they don't even count it towards, like if they won't even give me a credit report for her yet. But when she gets to the age where she can have a credit report, because she was linked to me on these accounts, it's going to show her credit history going back to at least 2020. So it may be another 10 years before she get ready to get her own car. But there's 10 years that as long as I'm paying my bills on time, because it's going to be like, it's kind of like when your parents tell you, what you do is a reflection on me. So in this case, what I do with my credit, because I made her an authorized user, is going to be a reflection on her. So as long as I'm paying it on time, her credit is going to look good. But just like that, if I go crazy and decide to get all these and don't pay nothing, and my credit go back down to a 591 like it was before, her credit gonna stink just as loud as mine. So that's something you have to think about. So for credit, when you're looking at the length of credit, that becomes a big deal when you don't have any credit. So they're suggesting that it's hard to find somebody, I do it for her because she's my daughter, but other than that, I'm not real big on let people be authorized users, but because I know she ain't got access to that card and she's not gonna be spending nothing. She's a user and her credit is good right now. If they had to look at it, because it looks like it mirrors what mine is. Okay. So yeah, that's 15% of your score. And I think I said, okay, yeah, that's 82.5 points. Okay, so that's why I get this confused all the time. There's payment history, which means you paid it on time, it didn't go to collection. And then there's credit history, meaning the length of time you've had active credit. So both of them are history. One is payment, one is credit. The payment one is worth more points because it's obviously looking at, how well you did with it. The credit history is only looking at how long you've had it or have not had it. Okay. So the next thing is new credit. New credit is the fourth grade you're gonna have on this credit GPA, and it counts for 10%. So just like with the other one, it don't count for a whole lot, but if you don't have any, or it's not in a good standing, that's still 55 points out of that 850 that's not where it should be. Okay, so I'm gonna go down and read what it says about new credit. Okay, 10% of your credit score will be based on your ability to get new credit. However, this can be a challenge if you have a low credit score. Duh. Consider doing one of the following. So it just gives you some examples of ways that you can get some new credit. So, this goes back to the part where I was talking about how you be in the store and they tell you get 20% off if you apply. If I knew without a doubt my credit was bad and they weren't going to give it to me. So it wasn't no use them letting them pull it unless I knew they were going to give it to me. So new credit is good, but make sure you can get, before you apply for it, because it is true. A lot of inquiries can lower your score. And the logic behind that is, let's say you are car shopping or whatever, and you've gone to maybe 2 dealerships. At those 2 dealerships, they went through 2 or 3 different finance companies to try and get you financed. Well, when they you end up not getting a car. So when they're looking back at this, they're looking at it like they done went through 5 or 6 different finances, and nobody would take a chance on this woman to give her a car, even at a high interest rate. Her credit was that bad. So that's the whole thing behind a lot of inquiries. If you have an inquiry and like the first one you get and you accept it, I mean, that's not a bad thing. But if you're getting turned down for stuff left and right, and you got all of these things showing what people was checking your credit, that's gonna put a bad taste in whoever's trying to sell you something else. Because what they're looking at, just like with your grade, when the college decide whether they're gonna accept you, they trying to see what kind of student you're gonna be. When they're looking at your credit, they're trying to see what kind of I don't want to say client, but how responsible you're gonna be with their money, because that's basically what they're doing when they give you credit. They're saying, okay, this car costs $10,000. I'm gonna give you this $10,000 based on the fact that, one, you never been late on nothing. 2, looks like you ain't had no problem getting approved. 3, what was the other thing? 3, your balance ain't real high on your card. So they just kind of that credit is giving them a blueprint of what they can expect from you when they give you this money. So let's just be honest and call a thing a thing. If you're looking at this person's credit and you see they done went to 10 different places and they got their credit ran to get a car, because you can tell by all the name of these places that these are finance places for cars. And when you're looking at their credit, which shows you all of their, current people that they're paying money to, you don't see a car dealership on there at all. That basically means you could not get approved for a car. So if they weren't going to approve you, why should I? That it's like a snapshot to let them know whether you worth giving this 10,000. If I give them this 10,000, am I just kissing my money goodbye and I ain't gonna never see it again? They're gonna change the address and move, and every time I call, they're gonna hang up on me. That's what they're looking at. Okay. So we give you a few suggestions for what to do if you're fresh out of school and you're trying to get new credit. There, you can go for like the smaller, like one of the things I know, and I've given this example before. When I was younger, when I first got out, even when I think I was still in school, my first credit was I wanted a hair and bone chain. I'm a kid from the 90s now. and everybody was walking in the thick of the chain, the better the swag. So I ain't want one of them little thin ones. I wanted one of them thicker ones. So, back then we had Freedman's, we had K Jewelers, we had Zales, we had all these little, back when everybody was going to the mall and they got all these little different stores in the mall that'll finance you. You don't know what they're talking about, but you know that they say you're going to pay this much for this many days and they're going to let you have that change. It's easier when you don't have credit to start off with little companies like that, because even though it was just a gold chain that I paid $300 for, I made my payments on time every month. I paid the account off. I left in good standing. I established a credit history. I got it started with that account. So you got to, how they say you got a problem before you walk. You got a problem before you walk. So me doing that started building my credit. Okay. So the last part is credit mix, and that's kind of what I was telling y'all about before. Credit mix makes up 10% of your credit score. So that's 55 points. So far, to make this, to count towards your point, you got 192.5 for payment history. You've got 165 for credit utilization. So, those two are your biggest two things that they're looking at. Credit history is your third one, and it's 82.5 points. And then you got 55 and 55 for new credit and credit mix. And I know y'all are thinking that don't add up to that don't add up to 850, but everybody, as long as you got a name, everybody starts off with a base of 300 points. So it's like, how they say, you taking a test, they'll give you 10 points just because you spelled your name right. Same thing. You're going to get 300 just for having blood in your veins and being a warm body that can apply for the for the card. So you don't count that 300. Everything after that 300 is based on those other 5 parts. The 35% from payment history, the 30% from the amount of debt, the 15% for how long your credit history is, and those 10% for new credit and credit mix. So let me reiterate the credit mix, and I'm gonna get off because it's been over an hour. But hopefully this information has been helpful to somebody. If you're catching the replay, just take it for what it is. Fast forward through the parts that you don't want to hear about, but take notes regarding your credit, because this is stuff that you need to know. Even if you're to a point that your credit is good, this is information you can pass on to your kids or your relatives that's always trying to borrow money from you and help them get their stuff straightened out. Hey, Miss Pam, a view is a view. So glad you dropped by. And I know you're a finance lady too. So all of this is like baby stuff for you. But I'm trying to help the folks who don't know what comprises their credit score, to kind of give them an idea. And thank you so much for the thumbs up and the share, to kind of give them an idea of what they're looking at when they're doing your credit score. Okay, so the last pointer, or the last class, in this 5 classes you've taken to get this grade, is credit mix. Oh, thank you. She says, oh, yes, I love your finance video. Honey, like I tell people, I got off to a late start. I didn't really get serious until I turned 40, and I'm living proof that you ain't never too old to learn. And sometimes you just gotta break it down and change how you look at it. So that's part of what I do with my financial success. I want to make sure I make it as simple as possible, because I know that's how I learn and how much all of this stuff has helped me. Okay, so for credit mixture, like I said, there's 2 different types of debt. There's revolving debt, which is like your credit cards and everything that you can pay off every month. Well, there's also installment debt. Installment debt is like your mortgage, or I can't even count, like I rent. I can't even count my rent as installment debt, because at no point when I finish am I going to own this apartment. Installment is usually when you're paying to pay something off, like your car, um, your home. A couple of years ago, because I did not have any installment debt with my car being paid off and me renting, what I did, I went to um, my bank and I did, a personal loan for like $5,000. And I didn't really need the $5,000, but at the same time, I needed some installment debt. So I took that 5,000, put it in a mutual fund that had like I think it had 10 or 11% rate of return. So I put all that money there, and then when I made the payment, and I think I set it up to pay it off. I think I set it up to pay it off in a year. I don't know if it was a year or 2 years, but anyway, it was coming. I was paying the money back. I wasn't using that money to do anything. I was giving it right back to them. Now, you know, they charged me interest on that loan, but because I put it in a mutual fund that had a good rate of return, basically I didn't lose because the money I earned off of that versus the interest that I had to pay, I earned more than what I had to pay back. So basically, that was just another strategy to improve my credit, and at the same time, you know, um, make a little money. It wasn't nothing, but every little bit counts. So it says, once you complete the first 4 credit scoring factors, you will have a credit mixture. 3 active revolving and 1 installment is an ideal mixture. So what they're saying is if you have a car note and then you have 3 revolving credit card accounts, then you're in good shape. Your credit mixture is good. They're looking at the fact that you can handle both paying off other stuff and paying off this big debt, and you going through it and it's not phasing you from a credit standpoint. That is when you know your credit is excellent. Because if it's to the point that you have this installment debt and you only have one other card and it's almost maxed out, you late on your installment debt, you're not, big picture, you're not managing that well. So that's giving them second thoughts about, okay, she said she want a house. She's struggling with a car note and 1 credit card. So, that's pretty much how they're looking at it. So those are all five factors that affect your credit. Like I said, most of us think it's only paying you. I think the general thought about credit is you have to pay everything on time. You can't be more than 30 days late. And don't let anybody pull your credit because it's going to mess up your score. There is so much more to it than that. But the thing of it is, if you know what these things are and you do the right things, then you don't have to worry about, and on a serious note, life happens. Things happen. I could go out, and I'm not trying to jinx myself or put anything bad on myself, but something could happen tomorrow where I couldn't work. And maybe I got a card that is really high. Well, at this point, I can't work. So my biggest focus is not going to be on that card that I got ran up to, like it's a $5,000 credit card and is up to $4,000. That's going to be the last thing on my mind. The first thing I'm going to go to is my rent paid. If I had a car note, is my car note paid? Do I have food in the house? That's when you start putting things on a hierarchy of what's going to get paid first. And that's natural. You're going to do that because you're in survival mode. So I say that to say your credit score may not stay perfect because things happen in life. But as long as you've got the background information, you can kind of make better decisions so that you are prepared for something like that. It really makes a difference when something happens and you already kind of got a game plan versus you don't know what you're going to do. And if anything like me, when I was younger and my credit started getting bad and I knew I couldn't pay it, my thing was I didn't even get them when I got them out of the mailbox. I didn't even open them. I ain't got the money to pay them. What am I opening them up and looking at them for? So that was me just checking out from the whole situation. And what ended up happening is my credit paid for it. But God's good. I bounced back. I'm 49 years old now. And I think my last credit, the last time I checked, it was like 814. It's still a work in progress. Because one thing I'll tell you, it's hard to get yourself a good, a good credit score. It's equally hard to keep it because life is going to be hitting you. Stuff is going to happen, not to mention inflation. Like, I mentioned before, I have one particular card that I use for gas and groceries. Well, with inflation, I'm seeing a difference. It used to be when I paid that card off every month, um, it may be what, $400 or $500, something like that. That went up to like almost $1,000. And I wasn't doing anything different. A lot of that had to do with inflation. So that's another factor that we don't have a control over, but we have to be prepared for because inflation will creep in on you, and where this used to be enough is no longer enough. I always think about the line in Friday when Smokey, the woman, his mama gave him the money to tell him to go get her a pack of cigarettes, and she gave him $1. And he like, this ain't enough. She like, making enough. With inflation, sometimes it's hard to make it enough. You end up having to cut back on stuff, and especially if you're in a situation where your income does not change. Now, luckily, I think a lot of people, since inflation has kicked in, there were some cost of living raises. I know I've been seeing as far as like fast food and different places that are hiring. I always say my first job in 1992 was at Taco Bell, and they paid me $4.35 an hour. That was minimum wage. Now I'm out here in the drive-thru at Wendy's and McDonald's, and they talking about they starting off crew members at $13 and $15 an hour. That lets you know times have changed because I, everybody's job is not going to pace with inflation. Some of us, the prices went up, but we still making the same amount. So, there's a lot of uncertainties, but when you have the financial knowledge to kind of prepare you for emergencies and thinking ahead, those times are a lot less stressful than when you know what you was gonna do and you just like, I'm just gonna let it happen. Hey, Demetra lit all day. It is so good to see you. Thank you. Also, you and View are always sharing my videos out, and I appreciate it. I'm about to wrap this one up because I've been sitting out here talking for almost an hour and a half, but we were talking about credit. I wanted to make sure everybody knew the 5 things that affects your credit score. And I kind of broke it down like it's a grade. Your credit score is your GPA. So red ball back and listen to it. If you have any questions, I'm always open to it. I'm a home-based business owner. I sell this My Credit System, which is a do-it-yourself credit repair kit that comes with everything you need. It also, it comes with the letters you have to write if you need to, if you got something you're trying to get taken off. It comes with everything you need to improve your own credit. Hey, chill out. Thank you for coming through. It's good to see you. I see you in chat. So it's nice to see you over here. But yeah, this is the product that we offer. But my thing is just to let you guys see that this is actual useful information. I just wanted to break down, the thing about the credit score. So hopefully it was helpful. I'm about to get up out of here. Like I said, if you're coming in later and you're catching the replay, give me some comments, ask me some questions. A lot of you guys out there are really good YouTubers. And whether you realize it or not, you have a business already. But are you getting everything you can get from your business? There are so many write-offs or what's the word I'm looking for? Write-offs and deductions that you can get as a business owner. And if you are a YouTuber and you're getting an access check, you are a business owner. There are so many write-offs and deductions that you can get that you would be surprised how much money you are leaving on the table just because you didn't know. And we don't know what we don't know. So check it out. Check out the information. If you got any questions for me, I am more than happy to help. And you guys have a good evening. Thanks for tuning in. Let me see. Did you talk about reestablishing credit? Well, I talked about the 5 things that make up the credit score. So regardless of where you are, you can take that information because the credit score is always a work in progress. You know, reestablishing. I had to reestablish. I had a credit score of 591 when I was in my early 30s. So it took me a while to get it back where it was, but I didn't know this information, or I probably could have got it back sooner. So there's good. What I'll do, Demetra, I will. If you'll send me your email address, I'll email you some information because I was trying to think of how I could give it to you. But I think we're friends on Instagram. I'll get you the information just so you can kind of look over it and see what I'm talking about. But thank you again for coming through, and I'm here if y'all need me.